Hey everybody, welcome to the Multifamily Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Corey Peterson, and I really have a great show for you today. And really, before we get started, it's been a while, I want to give a shout out to some people that went on to Apple or iTunes and left some 5-star reviews. So this first review comes from SKPHX, so SK Phoenix. It says, start your journey with the Big Kahuna. This podcast is it. Whether you've never done a deal or you're a seasoned vet, Corey and this podcast will guide you through every step of the way. I've listened and re-listened to his very first 8 podcasts over 3 times. They are pure gold, and I haven't done a deal yet. But Corey and his team will help me with my first deal, and my first deal will be soon. I'm still using patient, still kissing lots of frogs, and I'm not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Listen to this podcast and you'll understand. You can thank me later. So thank you so much for that wonderful review. I mean, listen, I love it when you guys take the time to go on to iTunes and leave these reviews, because I know it takes a lot of effort. So thank you again for that effort. It really makes me so happy and puts a smile on my face. With that said, one of the things, kind of what's coming up in Kahuna world and with what we're doing, we are getting ready to launch. We're going to do an early bird special. So, and listen, right now could not be a better time to make maybe an investment in yourself. So the Kahuna Boardroom is going to be in October. I think it's October 20th, 21st, 22nd. It's a 3-day event. We normally charge $7,500. It's limited seating. It's not a big event. And in my opinion, it is one of the best places where you can come, learn, and you will leave with all the skill sets and knowing exactly what you need to do to be successful in multifamily. And I'm telling you, there could not be a better time to start getting the knowledge put together so you can come out of what's going on currently and come out like winning and winning like no other. So to apply for the Kahuna Boardroom, you're going to go to kahunaboardroom.com. Again, that's kahunaboardroom.com. Fill out the application. My wife, Shelly, will be contacting you and go over all the details and make sure that we're a good fit. But we're doing it for $5,000. We normally charge $7,500. We're doing it for $5,000, and we have a payment plan so you can just kind of start making payments in between. But you'll get all our online course, all our courses, our RPM course, our Raising Private Money, the Apartments to Millions course, and then our cash flow calculator. They're all, that comes with a bunch of case studies. It's simple to use. It'll show you how to do a deal. All our loan docs, our LOIs, really, I mean, everything that you need really handed to you on a silver platter. This is my top shelf event. You'll like it. You'll become part of the family. And I'm super excited to announce that as an early bird special, $5,000. We are limiting this event to only 60 people. We used to only do it 35. We've increased our space a little bit so we can have 60, but we cut it out doing it in the summer. So we only do this event twice a year, and this year we didn't do it in the spring because we had too much going on. So this is the first time that I'm really doing a really live event all in 2020, and I think the timing couldn't be better. So listen, I mean, honestly, if you're on the fence, take the time, fill out the form, go to kahunaboardroom.com, fill it out, talk to my wife, and let's see if we can make it a fit. We would love to have you there. All right, so let's get to it. My next guest is honestly someone that I really, truly admire, and I think the world of her. Her name's Kathy Fettke. She is the co-CEO of Real Wealth Network, and the best-selling author of Retire Rich with Rentals. She is an active real estate investor, licensed real estate agent, and former mortgage broker, and she specializes in helping people build multi-million-dollar real estate portfolios that generate passive monthly cash flow for life. You know I love cash flow. Kathy is a frequent guest on CNN, CNBC, Fox, Bloomberg, all the major places. She was also named among the top 100 most intriguing entrepreneurs by Goldman Sachs, and she did it 2 years in a row. So Kathy hosts 2 podcasts, The Real Wealth Show and Real Estate News for Investors, both top 10 podcasts on iTunes with listeners in 27 different countries. So it goes without saying, Kathy's kind of a big deal. And so let's welcome Kathy Fettke. All right, Kathy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's see, the last time I saw you, I think we were in Denver and there was a huge crowd of people, maybe 700. I don't know, but I think I'd be so terrified to be in a crowd right now.
Oh man, no doubt. We actually had some clever conversation at dinner too, and it was really a lot of fun. So that was a fun event.
It was.
But yeah, that group of people, great group of people. But gosh darn, right now we are all just still locked in our houses and watching real estate unfold.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I'm glad that you're on the show because I really, for everybody that understands, Kathy's kind of a big deal. I'm just going to say you're kind of a big deal.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I'm your fan. I'm a fan.
Oh.
But I really just everybody's looking for information and perspective on what's going out there. And before we came on the show, me and you were just talking about like what you've been doing. And you've really been like on daily webinars and just really going out into the marketplace and listening to managers and things like that. So help us understand how you see the things in your perspective.
Well, here's the thing. I was very much anticipating a downturn. I gave my 2020 predictions, and I do that every January, just kind of based on research and all the economists I interview on the Real Wealth Show. I put all that together and I give my predictions, and they're usually pretty right on. So in January, I said, everything looks good. Stocks are up, real estate values are up. Job growth is up. Unemployment is down. I mean, everything looks good, but there's some underlying concerns I had. It was the high debt, the fact that the money supply was so massive. We had created so much money trying to bail out from 2008 up to the tune of $4 trillion. And when the Fed tried to sort of back off of that and unload it, the economy kind of came to a halt in 2018, and that was concerning to me. And when they tried to raise rates by just a smidgen, it brought real estate to a halt, and that was concerning. So I knew we had a fragile economy, but I also knew that the Fed was going to keep throwing stimulus at it to keep it going. I mean, we had tax cuts. That was a stimulus.
Yep.
A lot of people didn't look at it that way, but of course, that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why the economy was booming. And people weren't necessarily paying attention to the fact that, of course, when you throw stimulus at something, it's going to, sort of like when you're sitting by a campfire and you throw a stick and it burns. It's like, wow, now it's warm, but half an hour later, it's not. So,
right. Yeah. You throw a bunch of sticks and it's all of a sudden it's fire.
It's fire. Everything blows up. But so
and then there's no fire. You're like, oh my God, what do we have now? No light, nothing.
Exactly. So in January, in the predictions, I said things look pretty good, but I would still make sure that any decision you make, you have in mind that this could fall apart. That this there could be some kind of black swan event that throws it all off. And boy, did I not expect quite this black swan.
This is something. It really is. It's crazy to think about what's went on in such a short period of time to where this month's rents, I think people are kind of paying maybe, but next month's rents, it's going to be a whole different story, I think.
And I'm not sure. I mean, like I said, we at that event where we met, and there were all kinds of people on stage, and some brand new, some who'd never been through a downturn, people syndicating, raising millions of dollars on, their first deal or, their second
Yeah.
deal. So a lot of kind of new investors with a lot of influence, being able to raise a lot of money, but not having the experience to go with it. So one of the things I had said at that event in October, and nobody wants to hear this from an old timer, from someone who's been there, I was like, look, if you're going to keep assuming that things are going to be great forever, you're wrong. It never is. If you keep assuming in your projections that rents will continue to go up no matter what, you're wrong. But if people want to see what they want to see, they want to believe what they want to believe, and they, oftentimes that's probably the greatest weakness, is not having someone on your team or in your company to say, yeah, but you need that person to.
Oh yeah, you need the Spanish Inquisition, right? Somewhere in your team that says, "Hey, hold on. For me, that's my wife."
Right. You need that, and too many people don't. They just they only want to see it as positive.
Well, you see it time and time again, right, Kathy? It's like people will go into deals with their best case scenario, and they're like banking on. They're like, "Look at this deal," and you're looking at it going, "Oh God, that's scary," because everything has to line up with the moon, stars, and the sun, and if you have a slight variance, oh crap.
Yeah. And no backup plan.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sitting at those events and I'd be talking to people and they'd say, yeah, I'm getting this bridge loan. I said,
you see all the deals going around.
Yeah, I'm like, bridge loans. I had those in 2008. You know what? That didn't end well for me. Because even if my deal was fabulous, in 2008, there was no liquidity. It just disappeared. And people who didn't go through that had a hard time believing it because there was nothing but money in 2019. So, lenders just pouring money at people. Flippers,
we are holding on to one bridge loan right now, right?
What was that?
I'm holding on to one bridge loan right now, and I'm like, oh, baby
bridge
Jesus.
loans are terrible. See, when you've been through that, and I have, they're harder to get in the future because we take things for granted, and usually when things are at their best, there's something around the corner we can't see, and that's just been historically the case. I don't know why, but it is. So short-term loans always scare me. I always like having a backup plan. And with that said, my husband and I built, we're in the middle of a construction project, a construction loan that was due in November of last year. And we did not get a new loan until the end of January. And now that company that gave us the loan is no longer lending. I mean, 2 months. We had 2 months where we would not have had end financing.
So check this out. It's funny you're sharing this story. I got one too because we close tomorrow, or no, the 9th. 2 more days from the recording of this. We have a Freddie loan where we had a bridge loan 7.5% to now going to a Freddie loan at 3.63% rate, and we got it 1 day before they changed the whole interest reserves. So we got our commitment letter and everything the day before. The following day, everything changed. That we would have got stuck with 16 months of interest reserves. And I'm just telling you, we were just so nervous because this loan is going to change that property. Like now we're in long-term debt. And now I'm still knocking on wood because it's got to close. And I'm pretty sure they've pretty much buttoned everything up.
Who knows, right?
But I don't know until 2 more days.
It's changing every day. If you're trying to close a loan right now that's not Fannie, Freddie,
if anything else, you're screwed.
It's kind of scary. So that's kind of the game that I've been playing. Is we just sold our last apartment in February, so it was like, woo. That's gone. But
time means everything sometimes, right?
Yes, and most of what we do is 1 to 4 units nationwide in different cities because so many of our members at Real Wealth are new. They don't want to syndicate. They don't have time. They're busy Silicon Valley people. They just want to get into real estate. So we've focused on that 1 to 4 unit. Just go get conventional financing. You can get up to 10 of those loans. It's, you still can get 10 to 40 doors. If you get 4-plex, you can get 10 loans, so there's still ways to
there's 40, that's 40 units right there, right?
So that's really been our focus, is helping busy people just get into 1 to 4 unit buildings in the
I
parts of
think
the
that's the
country.
best. Like, if I could go back and, I mean, I, for me, I jump started just because I was already raising money pretty good for single family.
Hmm.
But sometimes I go back and say, man, what if I would have done more quads, threeplexes, triplex, double duplexes, just early on in my career? The only thing I wish I would have done more of is holding properties.
Yeah,
You know, I
yeah.
mean, I go back to when I was just flipping, and I'm just beating myself up to think, why would I do that? Why, for all the effort and work to make a short term gain on something? It just sounds ridiculous now.
Well, especially since you have to, if you're real good at it, the better you are at it, the more you get to pay Uncle Sam.
Yeah, your Uncle Sam gets your half your money. It
Yeah.
really becomes 50% money.
And no, it really does. So, I like the Burr model where you can buy it, fix it up, get all your money out and go do it again. But then there were limitations on how much money you could borrow. And so it wasn't for everyone, but for at least our members at Real Wealth people, there were enough people that were like, hey, I'm just happy with 10 homes, diversified. A lot of people just feel comfortable in something they understand, which is a single family home or a
Yeah,
duplex or something.
it's
It's
a
just
great
not,
place to start, right?
it's a
And
great place. You
maybe
don't have
stay, and maybe stay.
and just stay there because you don't have to deal with commercial lenders that will call the loan or they'll have margin calls or it's just more complicated versus a 30-year fixed is just that.
It's 30-year
Um,
fixed.
that's all it is. And they're still lending, right? Backed by the US government. So that always felt like a safe place for me. Plus, once I mean, this is kind of across the board, but in general, the public likes to attack the big guys, and so if you've got an apartment, they think you're just
Oh, you're
wealthy.
loaded. You're
Yeah,
loaded. Yeah, you're the. I'm
you're the
feeling that right
problem.
now, right? I
Yeah,
mean, in
that you're
this
the
current.
problem. That's what they
And
see
hey,
it.
listen, half my portfolio is student housing, right?
Oh boy, yeah,
Right,
that's it.
and
Who would have
so
known? Who would have known, right? Oh my
uh, now,
gosh.
and here's the thing. This is what I mean. Right now, more than ever, communication is so vital. It's vital to your tenants. It's vital to your banks, your lenders. Like we've had communicate. Everyone that we have one of those student loans. Hey, listen. So far, so good. But if next month could be a different story, so can you work with us? And
Yeah,
they're saying yes, but are they just saying that? I mean, I don't know yet. And so,
yeah.
but we are the big bad landlord, and so it really is. It's a slippery slope. And
It's an interesting time, and we no longer have a free market economy. That it is a government regulated economy, and the government pretty quick and easy to bail out certain hedge funds and certain banks and certain large companies, but not the little guy. And
the little guy gets
um,
screwed.
exactly. So I just here's what we have seen. I knew something big was coming. I did not like the fundamentals of our economy that was based on the Federal Reserve just printing money to ignite this economy and bring it out of the last recession. It basically fixed a debt problem, which was bad debt in the early 2000s from mortgages, and tried to fix that with more debt. And that just didn't seem like it
That
was
seems
going to
like the
end
only
well.
lever they have is debt, right?
Just debt, and now, and that was 4 trillion. That seemed massive. Well, I mean, we're at 6 trillion now. 2 trillion for the bailout, and another 4 trillion just buying mortgage-backed securities to keep lending going. So that's 6 trillion. It's another 2 trillion predicted for infrastructure, and basically it's unlimited. So we've never been here.
Yeah.
And how will it play out? No one really knows. But I can tell you that based on the past, and during the last recession, when they threw the 4 trillion or so at the market, it did recover. Um, we don't know if that's the same thing that will happen. And when I say recover, I mean temporarily. It's a temporary fix because you do have to pay that later. It's like our grandkids are going to get that, or our kids. But what we saw is that when you throw that much money into the system, it does lift asset values. It did make real estate values go up. It did make stocks go up. And when those things happen, you see other parts of the economy take off. So it could work. We don't know yet. And if it does, that basically means that asset values continue to grow or at least stabilize and it means that cash and money and the dollar becomes less valuable because there's so much more being
Yeah,
created
they've
for
diluted the
free.
dollar again, right?
So if you have, so the sad thing is that we were already seeing a huge divide between the haves and the have nots. The middle class was disappearing, and that is why. There's no other reason. So if you own assets, you get to play the game with the big boys. If you don't, you get left behind, barely able to feed yourself because of
Yeah,
inflation. So
that's a
that's
sad
why
tragedy too, Kathy. Right?
it is.
And that's why you're what you're teaching right now too is so vitally important. I think 1 to 4, right? Hey, get into 1 to 4, get into something to be on the game of when things go up that you're at least playing the same game to benefit from it. Because if
You
you're
can
not going to
still
be,
get those
sadly,
loans.
you're
Yeah,
going to
you
be
can.
left behind, right?
You will be, sadly. You will be left behind. I mean, think about it. If you don't own at least your own home, let's look at it this way. And we know that inflation is what will come of this because
Right.
the dollar
Because
becomes,
we're printing money so much, it has to happen.
it's going to. So that means rents go up. That means every year you see rents go up. Now, who's that good for? That's good for the lender who's on a fixed rate mortgage. That's not good for the person renting.
Right.
Because every year you pay more. Now, if you bought that house, if you were able to buy that house, you're now in a fixed payment for 30 years.
Right.
So in 30 years, now you own an asset free and clear. All you did was live in it. It was really kind of coming back to the basics. But again, if you buy that asset and have someone else rent it from you, you're the one as the landlord who sees those rents go
Right.
up, and you're
Now
in a
you have an
fixed rate
asset,
mortgage,
not a liability. Yeah.
which traditionally has gone up in value or at least stabilized when this much money gets thrown at it.
Yeah.
So I am more on a mission than ever to help people understand that. I wish.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel kind of sad because I don't think many people are going to be able to. I mean, I, I at least helping people get into their primary residence where you can put very little down,
Yeah.
and then 3% down, and then you don't have to live there forever. You just need to live there for a little while, and then you can
But
rent
if
it
you
out
weren't
and
sharing
move.
that story, Kathy, there's so many less people would be in the making the moves, right? And I
Yeah.
just look. I'm so thankful that we have platforms to because I believe right now the world needs hope more than anything, and people like us that I started from nothing. I know that's your story. We had to really work really hard to get where we're at, and people that dream still is out there, but it takes a lot of work. But it, you
Yeah,
know,
it
but
does.
but it can be a reality even if it's just like your 10 fourplexes. Like if
Yeah.
that's what you do, I love that concept because think about it. If you were, you had a job and you're working and you were able to save just enough money to, you bought your own home first, and then you're like, hey, I've got some extra. Me and my wife are both working, but let's go get a quad or a duplex, and you have your tenants basically make your mortgage payment. If that's all that happened, you broke even, but 10 years down the road, the value because they're printing money goes up. You're in a great spot.
Yeah, it this was my belief, and now it is being very much tested because I did think that something bad was going to happen based
Yeah,
on the fundamentals I was seeing that were, too much debt, bad debt. When you've got a government that's increasing debt, losing $1 trillion a year, like the budget's not, like that's bad. I wouldn't invest in that company, right? If it was losing $1 trillion a year, and that's what our government was doing to the tune of 22 trillion overall debt, and now, gosh, increasing from there. That was concerning to me when the GDP, when the income that our country was making was minimal. It was like
right.
all this debt for a teeny weeny product. The GDP was still low. I knew fundamentally there was a problem.
There's a
So
crack.
what we were trying to figure out is where we put our money, knowing this. I don't want to just sit there because if you just sit in cash, it's just getting worth less every year. So we were looking for parts of the country that could withstand a recession better than others.
Yeah.
And it's early in the game, but every single day I've been interviewing on a webinar live for, anyone to listen to at Real Wealth, but interviewing property managers in all these places where I thought they would perform okay if it all fell apart. And so far, I couldn't believe it. Like one city that is really not exciting, not an exciting city. Maybe, I'm sorry if anyone lives there, but where do you live?
I live in Phoenix, but
Okay, okay. So Indianapolis, it's been a city that just
yeah,
doesn't make headlines. It's Midwest. It's again, it doesn't make headlines for investors looking for exciting investments. But when we did our interview just a couple of days ago with the property manager in Indianapolis, now keep in mind they were very specific about the properties they chose for our members. They needed to be in nice areas, B class, still around $120,000 for these properties, but
yep,
in nice areas, good schools, near good jobs. So we hoped that would be the strategy that works because it was in the affordable range that the average person could afford, not too high end, not too low end. Sure enough, we did our interview and he said, "You're not going to believe this. We've had more applications for rentals this week than we ever have, and these are very good applicants. They make 5 times what the rent is, which is good. You want at least
yeah,
3 or 4 times. They're
yeah. 5 is awesome.
good tenants." I'm like, "Why? Who are these people? Why are they moving to Indianapolis?" And he
Yeah,
goes, "Oh, you didn't know that Indianapolis is the biotech capital of the country?" No, I did not know that. He goes, "Oh, you didn't know that Indianapolis has the second largest FedEx hub in the country? And FedEx bought the old airport in Indy." And like, nope, didn't know that. So they're doing great. The rents came in April. I expect them to come in May. So again, because we chose areas that can kind of withstand a downturn, that seems to be working. Same with Cleveland.
yeah.
Our team there, that's a medical hub. I knew that with the aging population, we would see a need for medical. The Cleveland Clinic is one of the best hospitals in the world. And so our team there was picking properties out near the Cleveland Clinic where these nurses and doctors would work. Well, what do you think? They're busy. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Right now
working
they are
today.
for sure.
They're on the leading edge of trying to find this cure, of trying to get the test kits done. So again, nobody's missed it was like business as usual for that property manager. If anything, property selling faster and more people applying to rent.
I
And
love
then,
that. It's all about
yeah,
fishing in the right markets, right? So I always say there's lots of ponds to fish in,
yeah,
but when you really understand what you're fishing for, I think that's a big part of it. Like you came at it with the perspective of the right perspective. Here's what I want to achieve, and what markets can help me do that. And then you
yeah,
start looking at those types of things, and it gives you your desired result, which is stabilization, stable income, stable product, and that's huge, right? And you don't, because a lot of people just think that you have to invest in your backyard, and sometimes your backyard like is not the greatest spot. And
yeah,
here in Phoenix, I mean, we have appreciation, which is great, but it doesn't cash flow very well. And
yeah,
I'm more on the cash flow side. I'd rather have my cash flow, like that spendable money, and a little bit of relief that I don't have to worry about, what's going to happen tomorrow. There's a lot of relief in
yeah,
that.
totally.
Yeah.
I,
Even for us, even for apartments, we're in Evansville, Indiana, right? Which is somewhat close to in Indianapolis. It's a little farther away, but
mhm.
that's proven for us to be a great little market because it's a nice community. The people work there. And it just seems to weather the storm better.
Yeah,
You,
no, that's a great market. I love that
yeah,
market.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, what? So, if you're looking at your crystal ball, at my crystal ball moment, right? What does Kathy see
You
in the
know,
future?
I would like to say it's something I see, but actually in reality, I am obsessed with studying, and I'm really not. That's not my personality type. I'm
Yeah,
I'm like not an analyst by any means, but I think I've become one because a lot of people do want to know how I'm leading this company. And so I listen just constantly to top economists and I interview them on the Real Well Show, and I gather this information and I try to figure it out. So there's basically 2 ways. There's several ways this can go. I mean, if there's a cure, if there's a vaccine, if it's not as bad as was projected, if the containment works, whatever. Like if we can get through this in a couple months, the damage won't be too bad. People are saying it would be a V recovery, which basically means it goes down and then there's a trampoline and it bounces back up, and you better buy stuff right, when it gets to the bottom, because it's going to bounce back up. So a lot of people are saying that, and that would be wonderful. Now, other people are saying, well, if it doesn't, and we can't figure this out, and nobody wants to get on the airplane for a while, no one wants to travel, and people can't go back to work, then it would be more U-shaped. So it would come down, we'd be on the bottom for a while, and then come back up. And typically, that the U-shaped economies and recoveries took about, I don't know, 18 months.
Yeah.
And then there's others saying, no, it could be more like Japan. That's an L, as it goes down and it stays there and jumps around the bottom for a bit. And that would really be if if we just get swallowed by debt, and if more companies collapse that people couldn't predict. Like, I don't think too many people knew that Lehman Brothers would collapse.
Yeah.
When that happened,
but that was a real deal. And then it created everything that just went right after. It was like the first big domino that made all the other dominoes go.
So it's just like, boy, that could happen simply because there may not be enough money.
Well, and for the simple fact that even though, like, if they were to announce, hey, isolation's over, everything's great, but yet people are like, yeah, but I don't believe you. And so I'm not traveling. I'm not going out. I'm not doing anything, which I think is probably going to happen. I think people are going to be more like that.
I know I will be.
Me too. I mean, that's because I know that's how I am. And I'm like, I feel like I'm just the average cat. So, and my wife...
You're not an average cat.
That's what my wife tells me. She keeps my ego in check. But, because I think that's how I feel. And I think that's how a lot of people are going to feel. So I don't think it's going to be a V. I'm hoping that it's a U. I mean, I really do. But I guess but there is no crystal ball, and we don't know. And all we can do is prepare for all scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, initially I thought, okay, we've got a president trying to get reelected. He's going to throw everything at this, and everything's going to be fine until he gets elected. But as we're seeing, he's been kind of hopeful for a while, and he keeps kind of making promises that aren't even, like opening up by Easter.
By over by Easter, and he's realizing that no, this is a, it's not going to change, right? So it's a long-term deal.
Unless the hydrochloroquine or whatever it's called,
girl.
And they are seeing really positive results. So it could be that. I mean, here's the reason it could be a V. And again, we don't know. We could talk in a month and we'll know then. But is that for the first time ever, at least that I know of, you have people, the most brilliant people in the world, fighting the same enemy.
Oh yes.
And with technology and AI and robots and Zoom meetings and they're all sharing information and they're coming together. So because that's never existed before, with so many great minds figuring it out, we could find the solution, and that would just, we'd bounce back.
It would be great. Yeah. And I mean, I pray that we're in a V.
Yeah.
But I'm preparing for the L.
You need to prepare for the L and hope for the V. That's it. That's the alphabet right there. So if you're preparing for the L, which is a Japan-style non-recovery, then you still have to look at, their stocks haven't really come back. Their real estate never really came back to where it was. Again, in the level that the field that we've been playing in, I don't think will be very affected, because before we went into this, there was just a lack of affordable housing that there was just a complete lack of affordable housing. You can't build a property today that's affordable. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And so that was already something lacking, and that's going to be even needed more. Right? Affordable housing more than ever. So at the price points that we're in these cities like Indianapolis, the biotech capital of America, and we own houses there for $100,000. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to be hit that hard.
Yeah.
And those, it's not like the economy just stops,
Right.
It just, I'm still eating. I'm still ordering stuff on Amazon.
Dude, Amazon, hey, listen, if Amazon's killing it right now, their market share just went up so much. I mean, they grab so many customers, because what do you do? But people are still going out there and spending money. I see it all the time. I see cars going down the freeway, right?
It's just changing. And I've said this on a few other podcasts, and I think it's worth noting that Rich and I got invited we had a press pass to this really cutting edge, a futurist conference called Singularity University. It's in the Silicon Valley with the great minds, the greatest minds in technology, presenting how they thought the next 10 years would go. And what they were explaining to us is that in the future, the near future, there would be don't panic, but that there would be more students learning from a VR technology, that their teacher is a robot in a VR situation, teaching them exactly the way they need to know how to learn. Tony Robbins was dumping all that he knows, everything, into an artificial intelligence machine that was taking all of Tony Robbins, everything, the way he thinks, all of his books, and then creating this app called like Tony Robbins in your pocket. So it's almost like if you wanted Tony Robbins by your side at all times, that was already being created.
Right.
So a lot of what is predicted to come in the next 10 years is coming a little bit faster, where a lot of people are realizing, wow, maybe we don't need office buildings. Look at us, we can do this. I mean, Rich and I, we haven't had an office building in 5 years. We've been virtual because you know what? We could hire the best. If we don't have an office, we hire anyone from in the world.
And listen, and we're so connected. I mean, we're doing this right now on a Zoom, and you know, I'm doing it from my home office, you're doing it from your home office, and life's good.
Life's great. I mean, we do live events every single month. I've been traveling every week for 10 years. And this year, I was like, you know what? I'd really like to just stay home. Yeah. And guess what? Sorry, everyone. My wish was granted. I'm very powerful. So
the power of your mind is everything, Kathy.
I am so happy, and I'm getting to just, you know, I'm doing things I haven't done. Anyway, I think people are going to see that maybe we were going too fast. Maybe we were wanting too many things. Maybe those things don't matter as much as we thought. Maybe all that really matters is what we already have and we're giving no time or attention to.
Man, that is it. I'm telling you, Shelly and I were just walking the other day. Like, we've been on more walks lately. Yeah. And just holding hands and, you know, just hanging out. Yeah. And then we start talking about things. And, like, we talked about retirement the other day. Like, what would that look like? Because our kids, we got, like, another 4 or 5 years before our kids are out of the house. And we're like, what does that look like? What do we do? Yeah. You know, and how much is enough? And really, we're finding that we have enough.
We all have enough. We really do. And there was so much panic about supplies. Obviously, people just freaking out and loading up their cars with supplies, thinking that we couldn't survive with all this stuff. But in reality, and this is funny, I've told people this. Some very wealthy people I know would come to, you know, my town. It's a beach town, and they would pay thousands of dollars to go to this retreat center here, where they make you do meditation and yoga and hike the mountains, and you get 5 almonds, and that's it. And people paid thousands of dollars to go to this to lose weight, you know? And it's like, oh, guess what? You know, we can save a lot of money if we're not going out to dinner every night, and we can live on less, you know?
Yes. And you really start looking at, what do we need? What are we doing? And what's important? Is it family? Is it time? Is it time just to be still? I think more people have learned to be still in this period of time, and just look at it, and, you know, look at your spouse, look at you, what you have all going, and saying, I'm good, right? And maybe just center for a minute.
And I think that there's been a push for us not to know that, because there's powers that be that benefit if we think we always need more. Yeah. And that, you know, the economy is stimulated by us believing that and having to go. And so this really truly is a reset. I think it's a beautiful thing in many ways. There will be pain.
I think you're glowing.
Well, it could be the afternoon sunshine. I really am. I'm so very happy. I just know that there could be some tough days ahead. I do want anyone listening who's in that position of difficulty to know that I've been there. You've been there. We took it real hard in 2008. And I remember, you know, looking at my husband saying, you know, we're going to lose everything. And he's like, you're not losing me. He's like, now we can go take that surf trip, you know? and live in our car and go surfing. It's like, wow, we things just got better after that. So
Yeah.
just know, like, if you're in a situation where you might have to file bankruptcy, that means that now that debt is gone and you get to start over. And since so many people will be filing bankruptcy, I
Yeah.
assure you there will be forgiveness very quickly, and you will be able to get loans again. That's what happened last time.
Yeah.
People were able to get loans again after 2 years of having a foreclosure. So there will be a default, a reset, and a restart.
Yeah.
So and the times, as humans, we are creatures of habit. We do what we know, what's comfortable, and sometimes when we're forced to be uncomfortable, that's when we discover this part of ourselves that we didn't know. Real wealth would not
That's
be
when growth
created.
happens, right?
It would not have been created if Rich and I hadn't gone through a very difficult time when he had health issues in 2002. That is exactly why this company was created. I never would have done. I would have been a stay-at-home mom. I would have been having my nails done and
Right. But and how beautiful is that? Because that really is where you come from. Is sometimes it's the times that were tough and hard that you look back at, and those memories are the best, right? You
yeah.
remember how you persevered and how you pulled yourself up from the bootstraps and just said, "Today I'm not failing today, man, and I'm going to make it, even if it's just today only. Tomorrow I'll have to wake up and do the same." And that's what's probably going to be facing a lot of people. So there is encouragement, guys, that life goes on after tragedy, and that there is hope. And listen, we're in one of the best places, the United States, to pull yourself out of anything.
Yeah.
You really can.
Without a doubt. It's kind of like in 2009, millions of people had just gone through a foreclosure. It was cocktail conversation, oh, you went through one too? Oh, so did I. Oh, I short sold my house. I mean, the shame was kind of gone. And I think that's what will happen is like, oh, I lost my job too. Oh yeah, I had to file bankruptcy. Oh, I lost that property. But you know what? I learned this, and I'm going to do it again, but better.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we'll see.
I do too. Listen, if for people that are listening right now, if they want to learn about Real Wealth, and how do they find you? How do they get a hold of you?
Real Wealth, realwealth.com, realwealthnetwork.com. The Real Wealth Show is my podcast. And my book, Retire Rich with Rentals, has a very clear step-by-step process, very simple. Probably could read it in an hour to make sure you do it right, because I get people real excited about real estate and then they run out and buy something and they lose all their money. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you follow the process that is set up to protect you. So
the recipe works. Use the recipe,
works.
Right? Don't go rogue. Don't try to be a maverick. Follow the recipe. Once you've done the recipe about 20,000 times, then you can add a different flavor.
I like that. That's fantastic. Yes.
Because then you've mastered it, and then you can say, well, I'm going to create something a little different. But that's really the right way to do it. Kathy, thank you so much for coming on the show and just giving us your true wisdom and blessing us with your presence. You are radiant in abundance. I love what you put out there. I think it's just spot on. Guys, if you're listening to this podcast, listen, the power of your mind is truly everything. I say this in every podcast, but it's because I believe it, because I came from nothing, and the only thing that helped me get out of and into a successful path is that I had to tell myself daily that I was the one, that I was worth it, and that I was going to be successful, even when I didn't believe it at times, right? Because if you believe it, you can achieve it, and your paradise is possible.
Yeah.